What's up, everyone? Welcome back. You're here with Ben from Hochman Fabrication and Speed, and my friend Shane.
Hey, everyone.
We're working on Sinclair, which is the Calypso Coyote Swapped Foxbody project. If you were with us last time, you saw that our turbo components are starting to show up, and that means we are finally getting ready to start building this thing. You see here that obviously these turbos are not complete. We are going to be running some Zona Rotor XC3 8268 XR turbos from Force Performance. It's a mouthful, and they don't have all the components currently in order to build the turbos, so they were kind enough to send us the housings so that we can start mocking this thing up and start building the manifolds and the kit itself. You'll notice that one of these is marked with an R, which represents reverse rotation, and obviously that means this one rotates opposite direction and it allows us to build a mirror setup. So we've got all of our Schedule 10 bends along with straight material. I've got more of that in a box in case I need it. All of the fittings that we need for the turbos, for building the manifold clamps, and then you'll see that I got some pre-made collectors. This one is unfinished. This is what it looks like when it comes. Obviously this wouldn't go well together with all of the polished material that I already have from my friend Wes Williams over at W2 Fab. Shout out to him. So I break these down and tack them back together after I polish them up. This one's obviously already done, so Shane and I are going to go ahead and get to working on this one, and I'll show you how that's done. Alright, so here's the dirty section of my shop. For those of you who don't already know me and the way I run things, I try and keep this corner as like the dirty area and all the nice clean stuff over there, the nice clean area. Ideally I wanted to have an actual little room that I build and may end up doing that in the future, but for now I try and keep all this dirty area over in here, and once or twice a week I clean the shop to keep it clean. But for now we're going to go ahead and break down this collector and polish up each one of the pipes and then put it back together. And then this thing comes together like a nice little, pulls apart just like a nice little flower usually. Yeah. Oh, looks like I didn't break through that one yet. I'll go ahead and just do this one real quick. And these guys go just like that. And now that those apart, we will come over here to our bench grinder and use this wheel, which is specifically designed for polishing up this pipe.
Safety first.
There you go. So that's the finished product. You can see side by side in comparison. It just gives it a much better overall look. Once we do each one of these, we'll go ahead and tack it back together. We can start working on that collector. All right, so now that we've got these all polished up, we're gonna go ahead and bevel the ends of them so that we get full penetration on our welds. So in order to do that, come over to our belt sander and we'll knock this out. There you go. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and take this little deburring tool and we'll get rid of all that inside edge that's created from doing the beveling. And now this one is ready for tacking back together after we clean it up. There we have it, collected back together. Good morning, it's a new day and we have now reassembled our collectors after cleaning them up, and the next step is we're going to trim them so that they will fit properly into the size of the collector that we're using. As you can see here, it is a little small in terms of matching it up. So I'm going to grind that down, get this cleaned up. And since I am now here by myself doing all the recording, I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, save you guys from the time lapse of getting that done, and we'll pick up here once that's complete. Okay, after making a few cuts and also putting it on the belt sander, I've properly fitted the collector flanges to the V-band flanges that are going to be welded onto them. This one's already done. I wanted to go ahead and show you the fitment on this one here in particular before I weld them together. As you can see, we've shaped this to the point where it's as close as it can get for this particular flange. Once it's seated in there, it's flush and there's minimal gap. It sits in that little indentation that they have so that things fit nicely. And then I'll go ahead and tack this together so that it looks just like this one, and then start back purge and welding these together. You'll notice there's obviously a little extra gap in some areas. I'll show you what I'm going to do in order to take care of that. Moving forward, I got everything cleaned up at this point. Both of the collectors are tacked together. Here's a shot of one of them. And the other one I have already on the table, getting ready to start back purge. I have my purge plugs in place. Shout out to Strictly Modified Fab. They offer great fabrication components, and these particular plugs came from them. In addition to that, you'll notice that there's some gold colored tape on here. I like to use that to help improve sealing everything, and it's just a little tip and trick that I learned from another fabricator friend of mine. And that type of tape is actually called Captain tape. So here's a quick shot of what it is in case any of you guys online want to try and use it. It's something that helps make the end result a little bit nicer. It's all the little things that add up over time as you're a fabricator, and the little tips and tricks you can use to help keep oxygen out of spaces that you don't want it to be and keep the argon in spaces that you want it to stay. This is one of them. So we'll go ahead and move forward with getting this one welded up. there you have it. Got one of these guys welded up, came out nice. I'm very happy with it. And that puts us to the next step of this process, which is starting to assemble one side of these manifolds. We'll go ahead and start with the passenger side. We're going to be using Stainless Works flanges and 1.5 inch Schedule 10 stainless piping. The first thing that I need to do in this mock-up procedure is expand a little bit of the Schedule 10 pipe in order to fit the flange that's provided by Stainless Works. As you can see, it's a bit larger than standard Schedule 10. So I've got expanded. I don't have a high dollar, expander or anything hydraulic of that nature. I'm going to show you what I do. But I did do one already, and I'll show you the procedure because we have to do that for each one of these on this side of the engine. And obviously when we get to the other side, we'll have to do that as well. But wanted to show you guys what this procedure looks like. So in order to expand the Schedule 10 piping and have it fit this flange provided by Stainless Works, which is 1.5 inch diameter, although it seems to be slightly larger than that, I use this tool here, which is a simple expander. It's a pipe stretcher kit. Something I bought online. It looks like it's made by Lyle, and it works perfectly for my needs. It comes with all these pieces here. It's basically inserts that go around this component here, and it's basically a nut that's threaded into a big bolt with a bearing on it, and as it goes deeper into the bolt that it's on, it expands out these different inserts in order to get the piping to expand. And that's all I'm using here, and it seems to work just fine. So here's what that looks like. You just use an impact in order to get it to expand. I've got the smallest fitting that they offer for this. And what I'll do is gotta close it enough for it to actually fit in there. As soon as you get it in there, you just want to put the outside edge of that on there, because that's the part that's going to expand first. And the deeper you go in, obviously, the more material you're going to be forced to expand. You don't really want to have to work harder. So it's a little further than I want. There we go. That's about where I want to be. And you just give it. One thing you'll notice is there's a gap, because as you get larger, you're supposed to step up to the next size insert, but unfortunately there's a step that you have to get to before you can actually fit the next stage in there, and this seems to be just in between them. So you'll want to make sure that you just continually rotate it. You put some pressure on it, and then you close it back up, slide it, rotate it, and it prevents any flat spots from being in there. And that's important because you want everything to be true. So now that I've done a little bit on this guy, I'll remove it, rotate a teeny tiny bit, and go again. Rotate a little bit, do it again, until you get the size you need. And obviously, until you make sure that you also have no flat spots, because that's not desired. But I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a quick test, bring you guys along. Let's see, how are we? Okay, so we're closing in a little bit, but we still have more to go. And you just basically complete this procedure until you're done. I'll get this wrapped up and then snap over to the finished process. And there you go. There's the finished product. I've already tested it to make sure that it fits good, and I will show you what that looks like so that you can get an idea of how you know it's supposed to fit. Since this is a area on the flange that's going to see the most heat right off of the runner, right off of the head I should say, you obviously want to make sure that this is going to have no clearance issues. You don't want to be filling any gaps, and you want to have a nice deep penetration weld. So in order to make sure that this is the fitment you want to be able to snug it in there real good, pick up that flange. That's how you know it's got a nice snug fit. And as soon as you're done, you make the cut on the vertical, or rather horizontal bandsaw in my case, and you move on to the next one, do all 4, and you're ready to start mocking things up. And there you go, all done. So each one of those has been expanded to fit the flange, and each one of the ends has been beveled, and I've also polished them up so they look nice. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and do our turbo manifold mock-up. So what I'm going to do right now is, give me just a second here, I want to point something out. It's really nice how Stainless Works has these slots on the bottom of these flanges, so that taking them on and off is simple. You just put the bottom 2 bolts in and you can just slide it right in there. Simple. There you go. Time to do mock-up. Beautiful. And there you have it, the final mocked up design of this manifold. A lot has changed since the original Lego mock-up that I did. You know, that tool is really helpful to get the overall design and the layout, but once you get it built in stainless, it changes the game a little bit, because things are more rigid. You can actually see where you're going to have real clearance issues based on that. So the overall design has changed drastically, and you know, I'll be honest, the way that this looks is really ugly. Normally I don't have to have so many different tack marks on here, but because I had to redesign it basically 3 different ways, this is where we're at. And now the next step is I'm going to have to break down each one of these runners, thoroughly clean them, so that when the welds are complete, they're all really clean, nice looking, and you can't really tell that I had to break it down so many different times. So this is not by any means what my manifolds look like after they've been tacked up. There are probably double, if not triple, the amount of tack marks on here based on all the different changes that I had to make. So the most significant was this upper runner. Based on the spacing that we have available, I had to redesign that several different ways, along with these 2 bottom runners in order to accommodate spacing for that runner. The initial spacing and location of the collector flange has changed as well. It's a little bit higher than what I originally had mocked up. The main issue that I had was based on the clearance that we have available. It was either hitting on the frame rail over here. Let me grab my camera better. It was either rubbing on the frame rail, or it was rubbing on the timing cover. So getting it in and out was really the issue. I mean, the spacing and clearance was fine as far as the design, but it had to be serviceable and easy for him to remove if he needed to, and also have clearance for the power steering pump, which is currently not shown because I have it off the car right now. But nonetheless, after lots of trials, tribulations, it is finally ready for me to break down the runners and start welding this manifold up, so that we can therefore then get to turbo placement and start building the real turbo kit side of this thing. But nonetheless, just a quick update as to where things are at, and we're going to keep moving along on this thing. And there we have it. Final manifold is finished and all welded up for the passenger side of the car. Getting ready to do a final test fit, but this is the overall design. Here we go. It's on the car. Fits nicely. Got clearance for the power steering and also for the frame rail. It's really hard to see in here because it's really tight between the K-member, but we'll go ahead and put it on the ground and let you guys take a look. Here's a quick view of the upper section here. I've got the flange pointed exactly where I want it, and it's just to the left of the power steering pump. It's got nice clearance, so we can move forward with building the turbo kit. Not a lot of room in there to see, but here you go. Give you the best shot of what's under here as I can. There's really not much space to see. Anyway, really happy with how this one came out. We've got a lot left to do on this turbo kit, and appreciate you guys staying tuned with us. So if you haven't already, please do hit that like button. And if you happen to not subscribe already, please hit subscribe if this is the type of stuff that you like getting into. Like I said, this is only the early stages of this turbo kit, and I'm having a lot of fun on it. So be sure to tune in. But for now, we'll see you next time.